Hello everyone, welcome back to Shonky Lab. I'm Elton, and this week I'm joined by my wonderful guest producer, Mr. Martin Thompson.
Hello there.
How are you, mate? You alright?
Yes, I'm fine. As you might be able to tell, I've caught a cold within the last couple of days, and I'm just trying to get over that now.
Oh, man.
And get to the weekend.
You're in the wars, aren't you?
I am, yes, because I don't know if did you see what I did to my eye a couple of weeks ago?
I saw you go. Was it A&E you went to?
A&E, yeah. Queen Mary's at Sidcup.
Oh, okay. I think my brother was born there. Hang on, was he? No, I think the one that he was born there. Yeah.
I was born in Dartford, a hospital that's no longer there.
Mm. Yeah, he was born in. Yeah, St Mary's. That's the one right near to the roundabout, isn't it?
Yeah, you just come off the roundabout.
Not that anyone else listening to this in America or anyone else that cares, but at least I know.
And it's so local as well. It's not, even anywhere else in the country, just no Kent.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was Friday night. I fell asleep on the top of the bed, and I could feel myself falling, and I just felt, and I just kind of woke up, and I whacked my head on the corner of it, and just sort of dented my face a bit just by the eye, and so it's like the blood was just coming. It wasn't too bad. Because normally I can tell when I've absolutely done something horrible, because I cut my finger when I was in school. Did you ever cut anything up with a Stanley knife?
I've done that loads of times.
Right, so I was cutting up some A-level artwork. Basically, had my hand on the thing. I was just about to cut down the artwork with the Stanley knife, which went and cut off a slice of my finger. It didn't hurt, and I remember washing it off, and I was thinking, seeing the skin flap about, and thinking, oh shit, I should do something about this. My mum arrived at the school, and they told her to follow the trail of blood. And it just went around the school. Some sixth formers cut off his hand or something.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah. Anyway, that was about 20 years ago. But yeah, the other Friday I did. But I mean, I knew it wasn't too bad, but it was just bleeding. Luckily, my housemate's girlfriend was here, and she's got a couple of kids, so she kind of went around kind of cleaning me up a bit and just seeing how bad it was, and just saying, actually, we should probably go down to A&E. They'll either turn you away or just give you some steri strips or something. And they did. They just put a few steri strips on me. Although for Friday night, there was nobody there. Absolutely nobody there. However, I had a couple of appointments. I saw people come in the door and say, "Oh, I've got an appointment. I've made an appointment for midnight." Oh, all right, fine. There's people going ahead of us.
You made an appointment for midnight?
No,
not you, but other people.
Other people did. There was two people. I think someone made an appointment for midnight. Somebody made an appointment for 10 past or something like that, and we were just sitting there, just in this whole A&E department while the cleaner just went round us.
That's bonkers. I've never heard of that.
Apparently, I was telling my mum about this. Apparently, my sister's done this before when she's had to take her kids in for some reason. She's called up, I think, was it 111 or am I thinking? No, it's the police number. She's called up before and just made an appointment to come in to see the doctor at the A&E. Right.
Okay. So, we're like A&E buddies this month then.
Because I remember hearing about your story.
Yeah, I know I've told this on Black Dog, but I might just do the brief version of this.
You're kind of like, where's this going? I mean, I presume you've not had a full-on... well, go on then. I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't heard it.
Spoil it.
Spoil it. Yeah. Well, you're talking and you're here and you're coherent, so obviously you're still alive and you didn't have a stroke.
No, that's right.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
I thought, oh God, this was. Yeah, I thought, what's happening? What's this? Because my mum's had that before anyway, but
really,
well, she gets migraines, but not as you would say, not as bad as that.
No, I've never had anything like this. Okay, so the story goes: I wake up on the Sunday, and I nick a little bit of time in bed. I'm like, do you know what? I've had a real busy week. I've been on night call. I'm still on night call as well. I'm doing like 2 weeks on the trot, which is it's not hard work, but when you have to go out, you have to go out and you have to have your phone on all the time. And so that's where I get the stress from. It's just constantly having that phone next to you. And weirdly enough, I've got it on me right now just in case it rings. So if anyone hears this ring, I cut off, I'll go answer it and then come back. But around about 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, this person comes along, always walks her dog outside our house and always barks outside our house, 9 o'clock on the dot on a Sunday. Guarantee it. I guarantee this Sunday, 9 o'clock, she'll be there with her barking dog. Drives me up the wall. There's a lot of things going on around here. But that happened around about 10 to 9. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to I'll get up in a minute, have a shower, and then just do what I need to do during the day. And because
this was actually at night. I thought this was when you got up in the morning.
No, this was 9 o'clock in the morning. This was 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And because I'd got up earlier to watch the Grand Prix, but I was so tired, I went straight back to bed. I just decided, no, do you know what? I'm not going to make this. And so I went straight back to bed. But I was laying there and all of a sudden I had like a tingly on my lips and all down one side of my face. And then I tried to shake it off and roll it over. And then my head went really light. I went really light to the point I was nearly sick. And I went, that doesn't feel good. As I said them words, it just didn't come out right. It was all garbled and a bit mushy and just, there was something not right. I knew there was something really weird. And, okay, long story short, went to the A&E and they said it was a migraine. And migraines can do that, apparently. It scared the bejesus out of me. The word stroke never came out of my mouth. Not that it couldn't come out of my mouth, but I refused to say that. And maybe, the people in my family were a little bit worried about it. Amanda drove me down to A&E, but yeah, we went into the stroke room.
But you were sounding all right to them, weren't you? Well, but it was just you couldn't get your words out.
I couldn't get my words out. In my head, I sounded really slurry. It sounded like I had a massive fat tongue in my mouth and I just couldn't get them words out. And Amanda said I sounded all right. Kimmy said that I sounded all right-ish. But when I was explaining it to Jacob, he looked worried. There was a moment where I said, look, I don't feel right. And he looked at me. He was like, oh, something's not quite right there. And that's where it all happened. So, yeah, that was terrifying, man. That was really terrifying. It just turns out it was a migraine. And so I wasted A&E's time. I didn't mean to waste their time.
No. I mean, I wouldn't look at it like that, Elton. I don't think you wasted time at all. I mean, you didn't know what it was. I mean, it's not as if, it's people who've probably wasted their time. People have called the emergency services just because they got their toe stuck in a bath or because they're looking for the nearest restaurant or something. I mean, you genuinely thought you might have had a stroke. I mean, if it was just a headache, you recognise a headache.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I went down there. I mean, even though I didn't know my injury wasn't life-threatening, I still wanted it seen to, and I think it was still bleeding. I think it still needed to be attended to, but I don't think you wasted their time at all. You had genuine concerns over what was happening, and nobody thinks that if you're slurring your speech and something like that, that's not an ordinary headache.
That's right.
That's a definite cause for concern. It's better. It's better to check it out. I don't think anybody thought that you wasted your time at all.
I know. It's just a case of when you have that sort of thing happen to you, it does worry me, and I think it worries other people as well. So I suppose I personally didn't feel like I wasted their time, but I was slightly made to feel like I'd wasted their time. But
I suppose it's the relief that it's nothing serious, but then you also think, oh, it's just this, isn't it? You think, oh, I shouldn't have come, should I? But it's like finding something else after the fact. If you'd have known it was just a migraine, if it happens again, you think, all right, well, you can you can just relax up for a bit, take some painkillers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, it's a strange thing. It's because I'd never had that effect on me before. I suffer from migraines. I should get my eyes tested again. I need to go get my eyes tested again. So that's probably half the reason, but I do suffer from them because I've had them just flash on with no reason whatsoever. I've also had camera flashes go off. Do you remember them?
Oh, God.
And they've set them off.
You remember the old flash bulbs?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah.
My parents used to have those years ago.
Do
you wear glasses at all, Elton? I don't know if that's anything, because I do wear glasses now for reading and watching the TV, but when I first started school, when I was in senior school, about 12 years old, I used to get terrible headaches, and that was because I was always squinting, trying to look at the blackboard. So I went down the opticians, they said, oh yeah, you need glasses.
I do wear glasses. I wear them for long distance. I wear them for driving. I'm alright with them up close. I think the last time I had them tested was maybe 10 years ago. No, maybe even more than that. So I definitely need to get them sorted out again. But I've never had a migraine like that. I've never had that feeling like that. I've felt unwell before, but I've never had that thing where you think, hang on, this is different. Yeah. This is a bit weird, and I'm not liking this.
Have you looked at any further? I mean, to see what caused it or what?
No,
what it might be? They just said no.
They said it was a migraine. They said just keep an eye on it. If you have any more, then we'll do something about it. Go to your GP. And I haven't had one since.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I should. Yes, Sarah. Yes, I know I need to get my eyes tested. Yes.
Well, Jack Woodgate actually says in the chat, I can relate, Elton. He says, I have terrible migraines. I get a tingling in my face and fingers. My vision looks like I'm staring at a telly with an indoor aerial, and everything sounds like an army walking on a pebble beach.
I've never had that. Oh, I wouldn't wish them on anyone. Well, maybe one person. But I won't mention him because he's a massive knob. Okay, so what are we gathered here for? We're gathered here to talk about fanfic, not migraines and injuries and trips to A&E. So, okay, fanfic. I don't know. I think I don't know anything about fanfic, as far as I'm aware. I know one major thing that's come from fanfic that's been turned into films. I think that's like the only thing around at the moment, but I don't know whether you know anything about it at all. But where did you first hear about fanfic? When did you first learn about it? Because I think with me, it's just been over the last 10 years with the internet is slowly drift into my psyche.
I can't remember exactly when I heard about it first of all. I remember, but it was definitely nearly 20 years ago now, sort of right at the birth of the internet. Just people writing their own stories, basically. Right. I mean, that's how I've always termed fan fiction. I mean, again, we've got the wiki open here, which it basically fan fiction came into use in the 20th century to delineate between stories using established characters that were authorized by the copyright holder and those that were unauthorized. And so it's basically fan fiction is defined by being both related to its subject's canonical fictional universe and existing outside it. So it depends whether you would count stuff like Star Wars Extended Universe. I mean, it depends whether that was a proper continuation of the Star Wars universe, or whether you saw that as something outside it. But then those are proper published books, and I think those are often seen as canon. Well, or at least were up until a certain point. They decided to bin it all.
Well, I think they let them through, didn't they? Yeah. Apparently George Lucas not read them all, but ticked them all off and said, yep, you can have that. Yep, you can have that. No, you can't have that one.
Yeah.
And there was, I suppose there was a nice rubber stamp given to the authors of them books. And then I see at that point, once it's all been accredited by the original owner of the material, then surely that's not fanfic. That is just in that world now, isn't it?
Well, it depends whether you say this is part of established canon. I think whether you say this is a proper story, this is within the canon, this is what actually happened, or whether it's just a story set within that universe. I mean, going to Wiki, man looks up thing on internet, as Mr. Medcast says. Fanfiction is about characters or settings from an original work of fiction created by fans of that work rather than its creator.
Yeah.
They may maintain the creator's characters and settings or add their own. I mean, because I've actually written some of this myself.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think back. That's where I kind of started with it. Because I remember when the internet was in its infancy. I mean, my first real exposure to the internet was actually went with my dad to work, and some Saturdays, and I went into it, and he used to let me to have a look on the internet, which was this brand new thing at the time. You know, I think did we get it about mid-90s maybe?
What, the internet?
Yeah. Oh. Trying to remember when we first got the internet.
I think we first got it in maybe 98, I think. And then it was just on a computer at Amanda's mum and dad's house. And we were allowed to look over the shoulder of her dad as he did it, but never touch it because it cost a fortune, and it did cost a fortune.
Well, yeah, we were restricted to phone regulations as well. You can only go on the internet after 6 o'clock, because that's when phone calls are cheaper.
Yeah, that's right. God, my kids wouldn't survive in them worlds. They wouldn't last 10 minutes without that.
Well, you can turn on the internet with a button now. Imagine if you had to hear that dial-up sign and just think that you might not get on the internet unless it's properly connected.
That's the thing, though. We don't turn the internet on. We just never turn it off. It's always on in this house. Yeah. The only time we turn it off is when someone's dropped off and they're like, "Oh, Dad, can we just reset it just in case?" Yeah, okay. And even then, that's an eternity to the kids.
Yeah. Anyway, I remember a story, because I used to be a fan of MASH. So they were doing reruns of that, which is a hospital series set in the Korean War, Army medical series, much of a comedy. And I read this story online. I was so taken with it. There was a crossover with Quantum Leap. They put Sam Beckett. I think Sam Beckett became Hawkeye Pierce.
Really?
Yeah. And I was so interested. I used my dad's printer to print this whole thing out. Just pages and pages and pages of this, because I wanted to take it home with me and to read it.
It wasn't like a dot matrix printer as well, was it? Going for hours?
No. I think it was by then. I think we must have been in late 90s by this time. I think it was all a bit all better by then. I think it was the proper oh, God, what noise I'm making. I remember there being a website, an Only Fools and Horses website, run by a friend of mine, and they're running a script competition. So I entered it. I was a big fan of Only Fools and Horses. I wrote basically a script for Only Fools and Horses.
Really? Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that's I think that's what I always mean by fan fiction, of just taking a property and just writing about it, just writing your own storylines.
Yes, that would be about it, though, wouldn't it? That's the thing, because
I think that's just what it basically boils down to.
Yeah, it must be a good way for either kids or young adults or whoever's trying to learn how to write. If you've got like an established world with rules there already, then it's easier to take that world and manipulate it to the story you have, or write a story around it. You don't have to do all the back digging of setting up characters and such. People would go into an Only Fools and Horses thing if they're from over here or have knowledge of that material, and you've already got the characters set out, so you don't have to do that for them.
Well, I'm fully with you there. I mean, fan fiction does get a bit of a bad rap these days, I think, because people do think it's just internet nerds, just writing their own, making up their own stories, normally involving, characters they want to get together.
Yeah.
In the future, or just creating relationships or /fic or something like that. But I mean, again, I've always thought of it as like that. It's a proper writing tool. It's, it can be nothing worse for a writer, staring at a blank page. It's much better to take that and establish universe. You can here are the toys. You come and play in somebody else's sandbox, and you can use that to develop things. I mean, you don't always have to say, let's say, a Harry Potter universe. You don't always have to write about Harry and Hermione. You can create a Ravenclaw student and see what they get up to with their bunch of friends. You could set it pre-Harry Potter time. You could set it after. You can just play in that universe. You don't have to write a story about Harry Potter or Han Solo or the Doctor or somebody like that. You can still play in that universe and use it to develop your own plot lines and your own characters, and then hopefully that will hone your writing skills, and you can then have the confidence to go and create your own universe and think, perhaps spin off one of your characters, but yet that character already. You can put them in perhaps in your own magical world.
That's right,
and things like that.
Didn't J.K. Rowling come up with something similar along them lines, where people were encouraged to write their own stuff and put it up on a website?
Was that Pottermore?
I think that might have been Pottermore.
It might have been. I mean, they might have had a fan fiction section. Jack Woodgate in the chat also says, mind you, it's basically how Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat got into Doctor Who.
Is it?
I mean, I do. Well, they wrote for the Virgin New Adventure novels. When Doctor Who was cancelled, it was kind of carried on through novels, and again, it much depends on whether you count those as canon or not.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting point about that. Big Finish, of course. I mean, you've heard of Big Finish? Who do a lot of the Big Finish. Were another group who are after the Doctor Who license. They got the license to make audio, and they've been making Doctor Who audio since 1999. I think it's 98, 99.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yes, because I think this is their anniversary. Is it their anniversary or next year? I think it's next year. I think it's 99. But they've got a whole lot of other cult properties as well, like The Prisoner and Blake 7 and Sapphire and Steel. They've sort of established their range. They started off making audio plays about Doctor Who, and since the 8th Doctor, the Paul McGann Doctor, you only ever had his TV movie in 96. The Americans decided not to pick that up, so that was kind of left in limbo, and he became a character in the books. And when Paul McGann joined up with them, they relished having a whole set of adventures. This is their whole new Doctor they could put forward. Now, interesting thing about that as well is that when Paul McGann came back for the 50th anniversary, he had a small section called Night of the Doctor, in which he regenerated into John Hurt's War Doctor.
Okay.
And in that he gives a speech, and he lists off companions, and he lists off some of the companions from the audio, which is a great treat for fans, because it was like a validation of these characters within the universe.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So a lot of people were quite happy just to hear those names. That kind of validates the characters, because again, with something like that, I've got a lot of books on my shelf. Whether or not I believe those are proper fanfic, whether those are proper, something proper canonical Doctor Who, I don't know. But I think fanfic is often thought to be websites, just people typing away at their own ideas and their own fiction, rather than something like this, which is established books. And again, when you something like cast audios, when you've got the actors there actually doing the scripts, it obviously lends validity to it. But I've seen somebody call things like, I've seen them call it, it's just fan fiction.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got that derogatory remark towards it as well, don't they? See, I must have written stuff previous. I think when I was a kid, not that I was into wizards or anything like that, but I knew about Merlin and wizards like that. And I'm sure I was aware of Gandalf and the Lord of the Rings. And I wrote very short stories in little notebooks just as a kid, just to amuse myself, not to show anyone or to spread them around or anything like that. I also wrote, I think it was like a very short one based in the world of Alien.
Okay.
But that was years and years ago, and it's disappeared since. But apart from that, see, I think I was too young to even think of that as fanfic. That word wasn't even around when I was writing that sort of stuff. It just didn't. It was just me being a kid and just practicing.
Term wouldn't have been around then, I expect. He's just a kid writing stories about their favourite characters.
Yeah. So this is really an internet thing, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's become more popularised by the internet, and obviously people enabled to post their own stories.
And it can incorporate a lot of things. I'm aware that it can incorporate crossovers. And okay, I've got a Wikipedia page up. You got the Wikipedia page up, and it's got a load of genres that we have to go through in a minute.
I will mention one thing. I just remembered this. When I was a kid, it had, of course, this was the 80s, the A-Team. I had an A-Team sketchbook. Childish logic. I think, well, it's an A-Team sketchbook. Everything in here has got to be to do with the A-Team. And something, so every picture I drew had to be something to do with the A-Team. And I have this one vision, this one image that always sticks in my mind. I have the A-Team watching Last of the Summer Wine. For some reason, there's a sofa and I've got the A-Team sitting down watching Last of the Summer Wine. Because that was one of our favourite programmes at the time. We used to like Last of the Summer Wine.
What? That was in a colouring book?
Well, no, it wasn't a colouring book. It was a sketchbook.
Oh,
so it just basically had like the A-Team van on the cover and just a lot of blank pages.
Right,
So
okay.
I drew this myself.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
So you've taken it not to a next level, but you've gone on to a left turn with that as well. Instead of writing it, you're actually drawing it and doing crossover that way.
Yeah, it's all a little crossover. Yeah, just write it again. That's whatever you.
I think as kids we're encouraged to do this.
Yeah,
and especially when you have, like, I had my Star Wars toys, I had my He-Man toys, I had my G.I. Joes as well, and I had my Lego, and that is a kind of a kiddie crossover, isn't it? Where you build something out of Lego and then you put one of your G.I. Joe men in there, or you have Han Solo in a Lego car going past. It's all that mucking around and just trying to get your imagination running wild. And then along in the 90s, 2000s, the internet comes along and people want to do that and share it with other people because they've grown up doing that. And then it's kind of got a stigma because it is on the internet. It's like internet dating as well.
Well, people think it's nerds. It's nerds acting out their fantasies because, they can't get a girlfriend. And things like that. That's the way it's seen anyway. That's the way it's perceived. But as we were talking about earlier, I think it's a useful tool.
Yeah.
Jack Woodgate says here, I remember back in school we were encouraged to write spin-off stories about side characters, which I think is interesting when you consider things like, have you heard of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead?
No.
It's a play set during Hamlet. Basically, these two side characters, the gravediggers. I think it's their gravediggers, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and it just features these two side characters in Shakespeare's Hamlet, just in the background.
Oh, okay. No, I've never heard of that at all.
And there's, I know there's a Star Wars thing as well as a couple of droids. I'm trying to see the names. I can't now. Perhaps I don't know if anyone in the chat can remember the name of these couple of droids. I think they did I think it was in a comic book or something. They were just putting them in the background of all Star Wars. And actually just come to me as well. There's a very good comic strip, webcomic, that pops up every once in a while called My Life as a Background Slytherin.
Okay.
Set during Harry Potter, which is not much to do. It kind of gently ribs Harry Potter, but he's kind of just a Slytherin called Emily, and just kind of what happens to her. And that's fan fiction in a way. That's playing in an established world.
Well, yeah, there is a lot around that. I know we've had one of the guys from Star Wars in Character, Matt, come on to the Shonky Lab once. He was on the roller coaster episodes, and they have a show where they go through all the side characters and the lesser known characters in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And you would not believe well, I'm sure you would, but the amount of material written for side characters by people that aren't really linked to that universe.
Yeah.
Just the average Joe filling out a Wikipedia page on a person or a character that they've had 10 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Wilro Hood and Man and all the other little characters around that we don't really dive into very much, but they're there filling out the scenes. And people write stories and reams and reams and reams about this. And everyone crosses over, and everyone's met Chewbacca, and everyone's met Boba Fett, and everyone's met Han Solo and bumped into all of these characters at one time or another. But the amount of effort that goes into that is just astronomical. It really has opened my eyes to it. But then I think I'm very blinkered in that I haven't read any. I don't read many books anyway, and so it doesn't really appeal to me to go to the internet for something else to read, especially like a fiction book. And so I don't know anything that's out there at all. And I remember I was talking to Lee and Darren and Jim, and I said about us recording tonight, and I think Darren turned around and said, "Oh, watch out for the fan/fic." I was like, oh, okay. So yeah. I'm looking forward to finding out what that's about, because I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue.
That's basically sexy times, I think.
Is it?
With /fic is, yeah.
Okay, so is it fan and then /fic, or is it /fic? Is that
/fic?
Yeah, that's what it's called, /fic.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Where you just have characters. I think there's shipping, where you kind of ship a particular relationship.
Okay.
And there's /fic, which is more about the sex, which is how I've always understood it anyway.
Okay. Well, should we run down on these genres that we got here then? Because I'm sure I don't know many of these at all. I get the idea behind them. Okay, let's go through them anyway. So we got Angst, which is a story with an angsty mood centered on a character or characters who are brooding, sad, or in anguish. Okay, I get that. And you can do that with anything, couldn't you?
Yeah. You could just have, just a character mournfully staring into the distance, I guess. Or just two characters moping about their kind of relationship status.
But isn't that just a sad part of any story?
Yeah, well, perhaps it's just a story that centers around one particular character. Somebody, you've got, perhaps you have about a fanfic about what Princess Leia thought, sitting in her cell directly after the destruction of the planet of Alderaan.
Yeah, I suppose and
the fanfic is just about that. That's about her thoughts and her regrets and her grief.
Yeah, it could. That's what I'm coming to realize about this fanfic. It could be a moment in time, but spread out across a whole book.
Yeah, that's it. It can just simply be what a character was thinking in that moment, or just establishing on established canon.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because I also wrote for I'll just mention this quickly. as I also, once I did that script for Fools and Horses, I did go on to write for some other stuff as well.
Yeah.
I wrote Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I was a big fan of that. I wrote a few stories about that.
Yeah.
Also this is another. I was a big fan of the police series, and I was part of a forum, and there's a whole bunch of us who kind of wrote, and there was a whole sort of style guide and everything, and I thought, oh, I'll give that a go, and I wrote quite a few of that. I quite enjoyed writing that. I wrote, I think, 1 or 2 Doctor Who's as well, which was just kind of short fiction. I think that was just a kind of a short pieces for, I think it might have been for a competition. I also came across, I think it was the last time I did it, about 10 years or so ago. It was called Quantum Leap again, Quantum Leap Virtual Seasons, which is people writing their own, virtual seasons, writing their own seasons. Constructing a season of Quantum Leap. I submitted something. I got a very good email back from the creator who said, like, I really enjoyed this. You made me laugh. I'm putting this on first. So I got my first fanfic, and I was doing the season premiere. I think the site went, because I did do another one. I don't think that was put out. So I think the site had some problems. I think it was down for a while. But I do remember having somebody email me saying that, oh, I've noticed you've got this. You were slated to do another one. Do you have it? I'd like to read it. So I put that forward.
Really?
Yep, someone just contacted me out of the blue saying, do you have your story? I'd like to read it.
See, this is how it starts, though, isn't it? This is how sometimes you can get a big break.
Yep. As Jack was saying with Stephen Moffat and Russell T Davies. Again, that was just for the love of the show. They started contributing to books and things, and I think Big Finish... I don't think they contributed to Big Finish. I know Mark Gatiss did. I think he wrote one of the first Big Finishes, a play called Phantasmagoria. And again, that's just for the love of the show. And again, the fans have ended up running the show. You know, Russell T Davies was a well-known writer by then, and he came to run the show. Chris Chibnall, who's running it at the moment, there's quite a famous clip of him on it's Points of View or one of those TV discussion programs, and he's there kind of talking to the producer at the time, John Nathan Turner, just this kid in the audience.
Right, okay.
It's quite done the rounds, that clip has.
Blimey. So, okay, with your the Bill fanfic that you did, were you tempted to bring in London's Burning or Holby City or anything like that just to cross it over?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't really a big fan of either of those, to be honest. I remember London's Burning. My parents used to watch London's Burning. We used to Sunday night institution, London's Burning, and still watch Casualty as well. Yeah. But no, I don't think I was ever. It would have worked though, wouldn't it? You know,
I think so.
You know, it would have worked. You could bring something in. I don't think I ever wanted to cross it over. No,
because I have always mentioned on sporadic times when something like that is on in the house, like either EastEnders or I wouldn't say the Bill, maybe Hollyoaks when we used to watch that like 12 years ago. But it was always okay.
I started watching that. I liked Hollyoaks because I could get in. I could get in right in here's a new soap. I'll get right in at the first.
That's
first
right.
one.
Yeah.
Start watching it, and I probably stopped watching it about 10 years or so ago. I think I just kind of gravitated away from it.
I stopped watching that when we had kids. It was so easy to just sit down and watch it. Oh, okay, right, yeah, that's nice. And then you have kids, you're like, oh no, maybe not. No, or you just do it, any other thing. But I've always thought, okay, maybe these could, because I know on TV you have Casualty and Holby City. They kind of blend into each other every now and again. I think they're based in the same hospital. I don't know because I'm a massive fan.
Casualty is the casualty department of Holby City Hospital.
Right.
So that's where. Did you know Casualty initially started out? Basically, it was a show about the night shift. It was all about the night shift at Holby City Hospital.
Okay.
It started in '86.
Yeah,
I think, and that was the format of the show, and it had separate seasons, and eventually they took it into the format it is now.
Right.
obviously took it into the daytime.
Yeah, I just thought it might be interesting just to cross them over at some point. Somehow, it would be rude not to have.
Is Holby in London? I know they film it in Bristol.
No, I don't think it is.
Meant to be set in London?
I think it's out in the sticks somewhere. I don't think it is London though. So, you would have to have multiple plane crashes for them to be involved at some point.
You can just have. It's easy to get somebody into. You just have somebody passing. The Bill had a hospital they used to use called St Hugh's. So I'm surprised that was never spun off into its own medical drama, because they started doing things more there. All you got to do is have, Charlie Fairhead on secondment, or he's just stopped, he's just
passing.
Yeah, he was just passing. He watched somebody stab somebody, he's given a hand. He's come with them to the hospital. He's a person on the scene, interviewed by the police officers. Bang, there you go. That's your crossover.
We're doing it now. We're writing it now.
We're coming. We're starting with this.
Okay, what other genres do you know about then?
I was just looking through some of them here. I mean, they've got a fluff story, which is designed to be happy. AU is a different one, I suppose. Characters set in a universe other than their canonical one.
Sorry, that's my dog in the background.
Dogs are taking over.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. For people that don't know, we're looking after a dog at the moment, and we're still getting used to what he's doing. And when he growls, we have no control over it. Kind of have to go with it. Got no choice. Okay, so AU or alternate universe, is that like the goatee bearded bad people? Yeah,
that's like the Star Wars mirror universe. I suppose you'd write about the mirror universe, or suddenly. Batman, takes a portal into an alternate universe and finds out that Superman's a baddie or something like that.
Right. Okay. So we kind of covered crossovers as well. Written it.
Definition of slash fiction. Slash fiction is a genre of fan fiction that focuses on interpersonal attraction and sexual relationships between fictional characters of the same sex. Okay, so it's all especially just homosexual sex.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realise it was. I mean, reading that, I didn't realise it was meant to be of the same sex. I always thought it was just as particular as your sexual fix. Just character A and character B decide they're attracted to each other and get into bed.
So would that be the Spock and Kirk all of a sudden decide, hang on, you're kind of hot and I love you, and let's have some umpy bumpy?
I think it's different in some ways. I mean, this is how I understand it anyway. Like, say Kirk and Spock get together, they decide to beam down to a planet and go on a nice date together and kiss at the end of it. I would call that kind of like a relationship fanfic. Whereas slash fic, I would see that as basically Kirk and Spock getting it on.
Right. Gotcha.
No nice dates, no dying to the planet, straight to the captain's quarters and getting down and dirty.
Yeah. What else we have? Fusion works blend in two settings, and sometimes they're cast in cohesive whole. Okay, so that means you're getting Star Wars characters and Star Trek characters, and then setting them together. It's not like a crossover. It's more joining them, and then they all go off sometimes in their own direction.
I guess two settings, and sometimes they cast into a cohesive whole. Perhaps this is related to our crossover again. Perhaps this is London's Burning and Casualty again.
Yeah,
funny enough, Star Trek has done quite a lot of its own kind of crossovers. I know there's one I just saw a cover for, which looks very nice, which is Transformers and Star Trek. There's a picture of Soundwave on it. I know they did a Planet of the Apes.
Hang on, that means that G.I. Joe's in the Star Trek universe.
Yes.
Brilliant. Come on.
So yes, because G.I. Joe is in the.
That's definitely in the Transformers. Yeah.
There's also a Doctor Who one as well, which is quite good, called Assimilation. The way they kind of handled that is that they didn't say they were in the same universe, but events and the bad guys, the Borg and the Cybermen teaming up, kind caused kind of the relationships, universes to merge.
Okay.
And they kind of suddenly it was like the Borg. Who are the Borg? Oh, wait a minute. Of course I know the Borg. How could I forget about the Borg? And which was quite good. I quite enjoyed that one because you had Matt Smith's Doctor on board the Enterprise for the Next Generation.
Oh, okay. Wasn't expecting that. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, this is an interesting one. Dark fic. It says here stories which are considerably grimmer and or more depressing than original. Often a deliberate contrast to the canonical, the canon work. And not all stories tagged as dark count as dark fic. So this is this is like taking Last of the Summer Wine and turning it into like a post-apocalyptic Last of the Summer Wine.
Yeah, or just make it grimmer and more depressing, I guess. I mean,
add swears.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose stories can be dark. I suppose they can focus on darker elements.
That's like Hollyoaks After Dark, isn't it? But yeah, you could add a dark tone to a quite light and fluffy piece. You could have maybe a cartoon. All of a sudden, just going a bit, well, hang on a minute, that guy shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, cartoon kind of stuff. I mean, you suppose you could have the Harry Potter. I suppose you could have just characters tortured by their decisions, just kind of moping out, just making things a bit grimmer, or maybe somewhere out there, which there probably is. There's a dark fic about the Care Bears.
See, isn't that one of the rules? I forget what rule of the internet that is.
Yes, Lee mentioned this. This is rule 34, I think. That out there somewhere there's something for everybody.
Okay, hang on.
A relationship for everybody. Where everybody's crossed with everybody else.
Okay,
there we go. Yeah, rule 34. If it exists, there is porn of it. Basically.
Isn't there another rule of if you can think of it, it exists? Surely that comes before rule 34 as well, doesn't it?
Sure. There was a whole list of rules somewhere. Maybe that's another podcast, Elton. Rules of the internet.
Hang on, I'm looking this up.
There's Godwin's law. I think it's rule 33, isn't it? God.
I'm looking up rules of the internet. Hang on a second.
There's a whole bunch of these.
Oh, no, that has taken me to a very weird. Oh, no, hang on.
Yeah. Oh, rule 32 is picks if it didn't happen. Picks unless it happens, yeah. States that if it can be said, it can be said with a picture. Picks or it didn't happen. That's rule 32. Oh, God, rule 32 to rule 76. Yeah, must have pictures to rule your statement. Rule 32. Rulesoftheinternet.com. Well, I think we've gone down a bit of a rabbit hole there, Elton. I think.
Yeah, I think I found it. Hang on. Oh God, there's 2.1, 2.2.
God, this must be early, mustn't it? Jeez, how early were these?
Hang on, Rule 27 doesn't exist. Rule 31 doesn't exist.
All pictures. The shadows are all wrong, definitely photoshopped.
Rule 53, it is a delicious trap. You must hit it.
I wonder if the cake is a lie is one of them.
Oh yeah, it's got to be, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, the cake is a lie. Rule 66. Rule 66.2, the lie is a cake.
For 52, it is a delicious cake, you must eat it. It's a delicious trap.
Hang on. Rule 66.3, the cock is a lie. 66.4, the lie is a cock. This.
Rule 64, don't copy that floppy.
There's a lot of GLaDOS ones here now. Yeah, we're going into that.
Here we go. Yeah, 63. For every male character, there's a female version. For every female character, there is a male version. I mean, that can work as well. Gender flip characters. You know, you can make turn Mal Reynolds into a woman. You can turn Katniss Everdeen into a man.
I think there's no problem in doing that whatsoever, is there?
I think you might have to put a pin in this one for another podcast, Elton. Rules of the Internet. This could be a Shonky Lab.
Okay, yeah, that is on the list now.
Rule 42, nothing is sacred. The most 43, the more beautiful and pure a thing is, the more satisfying it is to corrupt it.
Bloody hell. Okay, right, I'm going back to our original list.
Okay, out of the dark.
One that piqued my interest, the Peggy Sue.
Yeah, yes.
Ever heard of this?
I heard of the Mary Sue, but I was just reading about it.
Okay, Peggy Sue is
character getting sent back in time with a knowledge of the original plot, named after Peggy Sue got married. I suppose so. I mean, that's like, say, Princess Leia again got sent back in time and to try to avert the destruction of Alderaan.
Knowing that it would happen anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it says not related to Mary Sue. Now, Mary Sue, it says it's hang on a second.
Yeah.
A term credited to the originating in Star Trek fanfic that has crossed over to the mainstream. At least among the editors and writers in the early track fan fiction, a common plot was that of a minor member of the USS Enterprise crews saving the life of Captain Kirk or Mr. Spock, often being rewarded with a sexual relationship as a result. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I think a Mary Sue's often about putting yourself into the fanfic. So, like, putting yourself in as a companion to the Doctor or as a crew member aboard the Enterprise. I don't know whether it exactly has to end in a sexual relationship to fulfill the trope, but yes, you learn something new every day.
As I was reading, I didn't know where that sentence was going, and I was quite surprised as to what came out of my mouth. That's what she said.
Oh.
Headcanon. I keep hearing this. I don't understand what this is, though. Hang on a second.
Jack Woodgate's recommended Peggy Sue got married for the Flix Capacitor.
Ah, yes. Yeah, duly noted. Don't worry, duly noted. Have you seen it, Jack? Let us know. Let us know if is it worth it? Don't just say a time travel movie that's utter bobbins and then I'll put it on.
It depends. I mean, is it? I suppose it depends whether you want something to do. Do you want something to do with the actual use of time travel rather than just time travel? Something. Yeah, like Looper. Or, like Looper or Back to the Future, which is something has time travel as its core, rather than just say, mysterious thing forces person back in time, and they decide to live out their days in the 50s or things like that.
I think for that show, I'd rather have something where we can discuss the time travel itself. Because
with Doctor Who, there are very few episodes, before Moffat anyway, that were about time travel. Time travel was a means to an end, a way of getting from B to A.
Yeah.
There's a lot of historical stories. So something like, to pick one example, The Romans, which just features, the TARDIS crew going back and living in ancient Rome for a while. That is technically time travel, but it's not something I suppose you want to cover because it barely mentions time travel. Whereas something like Blink, plays with the concept a lot more.
Blink does that really well because they have that video and he's talking to the person watching the video, and that is work. That is so good.
It's very cleverly done. All the extras on the DVDs. It's very cleverly done. Again, how you just you see little bits and pieces of him throughout having this conversation. It's just great when they all kind of finally line up to form this conversation. Like, how do you know that? Well, because you're writing it down. You've got the guy writing it down over the other side.
Okay, right. I want to go over these canon, headcanon, and fanon because I don't understand this. Okay, so canon is the original story. I understand that. That's fine. Headcanon is a fan's personal interpretation of canon. Okay, such as a backstory of a character. Okay, like the main or the side characters in Star Wars.
Yeah, well, here's an interesting one. I don't know, did you ever see Family Guy Star Wars?
Yeah, I think I've seen clips of it, yeah.
Well, there's, say, for example, in the Return of the Jedi one, they have like a copy of the Lightspeeder bike, and they have this rock that stops Lois, who's playing Princess Leia, that kind of causes her to crash and fly over. And they go back, and they say that this rock is actually from Alderaan.
Oh,
when
okay.
It blew up. So you could say that, so that could be headcanon, I guess. Well, that's
so it's your own personal canon, placed
something
in there.
Something that happened, something that, like, perhaps due to a character's motivation, or something. You see that, this must be this because of this. Well, I suppose you could say it was you discussing Under the Shadow on the Black Dog, weren't you? And that ending can be interpreted in a couple of different ways.
Yes,
couldn't you? That the djinn, either the djinn was still there, and that the mum and the girl didn't let go of her, got out, or it was always going to be with them. Or again, the wonderful theory that Lee said is that because they left those behind, the medical book and the doll behind, that now it had no power over them. So that you could say, right, well, that's the reason why. Sorry, I think I just knocked the mic there. That's headcanon.
Okay, right. That makes more sense. So that's more of a very personal thing to oneself, and it doesn't affect anyone else in the whole entire world.
No,
it's just how you feel.
You can just say that it, this happens because of this.
Okay.
Just a different way of, I suppose, of interpreting it. I know there's another example I've got in my head, but I can't think of it here. Well, there's another one relating to Doctor Who. The whole thing about the Time War as well. Russell T Davies has often stated that the story Genesis of the Daleks is the opening salvo in the Time War. Genesis of the Daleks was a Tom Baker story in which the Time Lords sent the Doctor back to basically kill the Daleks or stunt their growth so that they don't turn out to be such a violent race. So you could say that is headcanon, is that because the Daleks found out about this, so therefore the Time War started. Now, that's not been explicitly stated in the show, but that's your reason. That's your headcanon. Well, I suppose if Russell T Davies states it, then it must be true, but you could say that's headcanon. That's why the Time War started.
Right. And then the next one is fanon, which is, it's the idea that is widely believed to be true among fans, but is unconfirmed, preventing it from being labelled as canon. Yeah. So an example of that would be, hang on a second, what would an example of that be?
Do
you know? I don't know.
Well, it's kind of what we were talking about with headcanon, but I suppose that's your particular idea of something. I suppose fanon, widely held fan belief. I'm just trying to think of any widely held fan belief.
That could be like, you remember in Alien when you had the egg morphing, but really it's not canon because it wasn't on the theatrical release of Alien. And it was only on the director's drop or whatever it is. So people know about it. I like to believe that egg morphing is more about the world, but because it's not really confirmed as strong canon because we have a queen, then it's more fanon. But then again, I haven't come up with that. That's been created by the director, hasn't it?
Well, Jack Woodgate in the chat says that some fan theories end up becoming canon, like Nagini, the snake from Harry Potter, once becoming being human, as they mentioned in the next Fantastic Beasts film. So I suppose that's fanon. I suppose you consider that Nagini, who's never said, stated he's human. There's a theory like, she must have been human at some point.
That's an interesting thing when fans come up with stuff and it ends up, I know you touched on it earlier on, but when fans come up with stuff and it does end up to be canon. And I remember this happening in Lost years ago. And it was a guy called Frogut. And there was a guy, there was one of the guys who survived. He was part of the tail section that crashed on the island.
Was he the teacher that got blown up?
No, who was that? I forget his name now. But no, it wasn't him. But yeah, apparently he was someone writing a book, I think. But the fans came up with, a guy who asked for frozen yogurt. And I think he had like one line. And the fan brigade just went bonkers for him and called him Frogut. And then he ended up getting more lines later on in the series.
There's a Star Wars thing. There's a droid. I know there's a droid. I can't remember what the name. Something like Bloop or something like that. That so much has been written about this one character. I was trying to look these up earlier on just because I know there's some.
What else was there? There was...
I think it's always a lot of fun, just taking one particular little character and suddenly they've done so much, or suddenly they've done...
Yeah, Jack says
within
Gonk.
the background. Gonk.
Maybe Gonk, but also I know Star Wars in character, they mention Wilro Hood as well. And he's the guy who runs around in Cloud City with an ice cream maker, and he has like 2 seconds on screen, and there's pages and pages of information on this guy, and he just runs from screen right to screen left, and that's it. He's gone. I think he's brilliant. I love all that sort of stuff.
And again, that doesn't really disrupt the narrative. It's just taking something out. I mean, what about that evil BB-8 unit in Last Jedi? I expect that's had a few written about it now.
Oh, I hated that thing. I hated everything about that film anyway. I hated it. Okay, what about self-insert? Now,
I think that's, again, what we were talking about with Mary Sue. I think it's putting yourself in as a character, putting yourself in as a crew member on the Enterprise, or one of the Rebel fleet, or a companion to the Doctor.
Right. There's 2 here I want to discuss with you. The first one is called curtain fic. And it says a subcategory of shipping. It describes a romantic couples in mundane domestic situations, such as picking out curtains. Have you ever come across anything like this?
No, I can't say I've come across it, but it does sound. Yeah, it does sound like something that would happen. So something that people might feel intrigued about. I mean, perhaps you got Han and Leia just going shopping with an estate agent. I don't know.
Yeah, going for a new microwave. I don't know. I suppose that's how it works. And from that, shipping. Now, shipping.
That's a big one.
This has been knocked around for a long, long time. I first heard shipping from Lost when I was listening to a lot of Lost podcasts, and they said, are you shipping these 2 people? I thought shipping was them taking I think they were taking the name of one person, name of another person, and splicing it together. That's what I thought shipping was. Yeah. But it's a totally different thing, isn't it?
Well, no, I think it goes along with that. It's just the name comes as a result of the relationship, I think.
Right.
I mean, here's one particular. I think this would be a relationship with Slash. This would be the other week. Lee was talking about on the Black Dog, talking about Supernatural. I don't know if you ever seen Supernatural or heard of it. Well, right, it's basically the two brothers, the Winchester brothers, Sam and Dean, are going out hunting monsters. Now, I know there is a particular... I've not read any of this myself, but I have heard that there is a thing called Wincest.
Okay.
Yes. Basically, the Winchester brothers having a sexual relationship together.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I have heard this exists. I do not want to look into it more, but apparently this does exist.
I'm not going to type that into the computer.
Best not to.
No.
But that's, again, I suppose that would be an example of /fic. Yeah, I mean, I know a friend of mine I did actually write a fanfic with. I was a big fan of Willow and Xander in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was writing fictions about them two getting together. Then, I mean, I suppose relationships can be, existing relationships or people you would like to get together in the show. Right.
So would that be classed as smut? Because it says here smut is a sexually explicit or pornographic writing.
Yes, I think that would be fine. Just anything that was just perhaps just concentrates entirely on sex.
So /fic, we've already covered that. That's something different though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, /fic, again, it says mainly focuses on homosexual pairings.
Right. Okay. There's so much.
Usually of male, well, fem/ is female. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. I always thought / was just all sexual. I didn't realise it was specifically homosexual.
Oh, yeah, it's niched right down.
I think, as you know.
And, okay, multi-cross self-insert. Instead of a single fictional universe, the inserted author is taken to many in a row and must usually solve a problem or some problem or complete some sort of challenge in each place before moving on. Gaining new powers and occasionally companions from each world is common. This is like a choose your own adventure book, isn't it?
That's quite a big one, actually. That's cool. Well, I don't think I've ever heard of. I've heard people inserting themselves into universes, I suppose, but taking multiple ones. Perhaps you just leap from universe to universe. You have yourself in the Star Wars universe, then you leap over to Star Trek, and then suddenly it's Harry Potter, and suddenly you're in EastEnders. And
oh man, that would be cool. That would be cool. There was a period in EastEnders where Ian Beale was a homeless. And I always imagined him because it was on in the background. So I would dip in and out of it. And I always thought that he was homeless. Ian Beale was a time traveling Ian Beale, but from the future. But he'd wasted like his last 50p time traveling back. And then that's how he became homeless. And I always thought that he'd always traveled back from the future. And at some point in 10 years time, we'll see him leave to go back. I think they should do that.
That would be brilliant. That's the end to Ian Beale's ultimate character arc, isn't it? Just have him put a watch on or something like that and just style and just disappear. And then that's it. We have the thing. Stephen Moffat goes on to write for EastEnders.
Actually, one of the
Doctor Who. EastEnders did cross over with it. They did a Children in Need special, the 30th anniversary back in '93.
Oh yeah, there's got to be writers spaffing their load over that guy. Look, we get to do our own proper fanfic on this, and we get paid for it as well.
Yeah,
they must absolutely love that. Okay, so is there anything else you'd like to touch on fanfic? Because I don't know anything about the genre really.
I think we've touched on quite a few things. There's an interesting one here. Vent refers to literature written by an author under duress or for therapeutic purposes to calm themselves following a stressful, upsetting situation. Warm and fuzzy feelings. I mean, again, I'm fairly sure of what I said. I mean, I used to write it. I used to get sort of a lot of joy out of writing it, and I think it's a lot of people do it down because it's seen as just geeky people just tapping away, making up their own stories. And there's nothing wrong with that. As we said before, it's, people, you can get a chance to play in somebody else's sandbox. You can hone your writing skills, and there are people who basically get to, if you're lucky, you get to do that for real. There are fans of, maybe there's somebody downloading it.
Oh, there we go.
Nobody downloaded it. Oh,
you're back.
Yes. I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly.
I don't know my computer is still frozen somehow. I don't know why. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stop pressing stuff and let it just sort itself out for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, sometimes that's the best option, just to let it sort itself out and go from there.
Yeah. Okay. I can't remember where we were. It just went really weird. I had other bits. I think we were just summing up, weren't we? I think we were just. I think with FanFic, I think it's a great place for people to learn their trade. And I think you just mentioning about people going on to bigger and better things, and
people have actually gone to write for the property that they're fans about. Sometimes, but whether or not they started off just toying around with stories or not, they've gone up to either perhaps write for the show or whatever they like, or either just in spin-off media.
Yeah. Oh, Steve Bob says, has anyone read The Things by Peter Watts? It's retelling of John Carpenter's Things from the Things perspective. I've read that.
Oh.
And I think it is brilliant because there are. It's okay. From what I read, it's only very short, but there was a bit where someone was trying to be assimilated by the Thing, and from the Thing's perspective, he's just trying to bond with other creatures. Why are you resisting? Why? I don't understand why you wouldn't want to be part of me. And it's so well written, I think. I really enjoyed that. What I read, it was very short. So, thank you, Steve, for reminding me about that. Because, yes, I have gone onto the internet to read FanFic. And I thought it was very good. I totally forgot about that.
There's another interesting one I just thought of. I mean, what about that alien skull in Predator 2? I mean, that was something that must have certainly sparked off, some debates about suddenly, here are these two famous monsters. Suddenly is confirmation they're in the same universe. And of course, they went on to make Alien versus Predator and a whole bunch of comics, I think, didn't they? About of varying quality.
Yeah, there were a lot of comics about this. Some of them were very good. I think I definitely bought the comics, and I know that I bought a book that the comics were based on as well, and I thought they were really good. But that may have been one of the very first times I noticed it on the silver screen. Especially, people do it now, don't they? They put things in the background, and allude to certain other genres. They tip the hat and wink at certain other films that might be in their field and might not be.
Yeah.
But it is just a nod and a wink. But that alien skull was front and center. It wasn't quite front and center, but it was one of the things that your eye was very much drawn to. And the internet would have had a field day on that if that had happened now. And
that's kind of
a shame that it didn't happen now, and it happened in 97. If it waited until now, then maybe something decent might have come of it.
Well, you never know.
No, we will never know. But yeah, I don't remember anything quite as obvious as that happening in recent times.
Well, I suppose it's some of the Marvel stuff, maybe. But then again, it always kind of that's not different universes, that kind of links into its own universe. Like, first of all, people spotted the Infinity Gauntlet in the trophy room in Thor, which was before anyone thought about, the Infinity Gauntlet. Anyway, I thought, oh, look, there's the Infinity Gauntlet. We didn't know, of course, that they were heading down that path of the storyline until Avengers.
Yeah. Did they know that they were heading that way?
I think they must have done, yeah. Well, then again, I think with Phase 1, I think they were just trying out to see if it works. I suppose if the Avengers was a flop, then I suppose they could just go back to the drawing board, and at least they've done these interconnected movies. But then again, the first mention was in the Avengers anyway. That kind of put Thanos at the end, so I think they obviously had an idea of where they could go, or what they would be doing.
They had a map of where they were going to go, didn't they? By then, that it was all planned out by then. I think after the Iron Man, it was, hang on, this went down really well. Where can we go with this? And start building things up slowly.
I think it was planned before Iron Man. I think they certainly planned out those first 4 movies, and they were going to link them up with the Avengers.
Right.
I think that was the plan from the beginning. And well, I mean, people forget about that now, people will forget about that in the whole kind of shared universe thing. I mean, do you remember at the time when Iron Man came out? I mean, I do next to nothing about Iron Man. I don't know much about the Marvel comics universe or anything like that. I mean, I've become a lot more invested in it since the films. I'll say that, but people were properly excited that Nick Fury showed up at the end of Iron Man. Because they weren't expecting it. He's a character from a different area crossed over, and Stark turns up at the end of Incredible Hulk. You have Thor's hammer at the end of another one as well.
Yeah,
Iron Man 2. People were properly excited because these properties were all kind of crossing over now, rather than being kept in their own bubbles.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there a scene? See, I haven't seen it, but the new Blade Runner movie, I've seen shots of people walking downstairs and possibly one of the engineers from Prometheus being there. Now, I know that the Tyrrell, it's kind of the same universe, isn't it? With Blade Runner and Alien. It's widely thought it might be.
Yes, I think it's thought that, because there's, heard of the Man in the High Castle?
Yeah.
I think the Blade Runner universe is meant to be part of that. It's kind of meant to be part of this alternate.
Really?
I think that's how people have seen it anyway. And I'm sure Andy's shouting at his iPod or whatever at the moment, because he probably knows more about this than we do.
Here we go.
Because it was the Philip K. Dick.
Jack in the chat room has just turned around and said that's Fanon. So that could possibly be, a collective, and it hasn't been turned around and said, that is definitely possibly one of the engineers, and so that is just Fanon, a collective hive of people thinking that it should be and hasn't been agreed yet. Yeah.
Whereas something like the alien skull in Predator, that has been agreed. That's in plain sight. We know that those two are connected. Whereas I guess something like that, you could just see, or perhaps, or maybe a logo. A logo would be too obvious, I guess, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jay. It works. The Wikipedia actually works. It's not broken this time.
I could say the same thing about Skype, I think.
Yeah. I think that was more my computer than anything, so apologies for that.
Well, here's a question, Elton. If you could take like a side character from anything, would you want to see the adventures of that side character? Or take a side character from somewhere and just spin this one off?
Well, we've been down this path already, haven't we? Yeah. With
London's Burning.
Boba Fett as well. And people...
that's it. Fan favourite character people latched onto.
People loved Boba Fett, and I loved Boba Fett as well. And so people wanted more Boba Fett. And so they they engineered him back into Return of the Jedi. I know he was already in there, but they did more shots and put him in there, and then, oh, well, hang on, we need him in New Hope in the new bits. And so we have him walk back at the very end. Once all the other characters left screen right, then we'll have Boba Fett just walk past, because the fans love Boba Fett. And I think that is possibly where writers the fans want this character. It doesn't mean that they should get this character.
Or they want it and the company's like, okay, we'll give them it, but we'll give them too much of it so they become sick of it. Hasn't the same thing happened with Darth Maul? Hasn't he been resurrected in a couple of ways?
Okay, well, we might be going into spoiler territory there, so I don't want to ruin any films. I haven't seen the new Solo. I haven't seen Rebels, but from what I've heard, there are rumblings of certain characters possibly turning up in certain scenes. That's all I can say about that. I don't want to ruin it for anyone, because not that I'm going to get a load of emails. If you want to send me emails, you're more than welcome to. It's at shonkylab@gmail.com, but you're not going to, are you? So I sometimes we don't deserve it. And then Ridley Scott did this with Prometheus as well, and Covenant. And there was a massive cry. Yeah, okay, Prometheus, although it was beautiful, it was crap. It didn't really do anything for me. But I wasn't there. I was interested in where he would take it. He had a chance to take it somewhere, and he didn't do that. He had a lot of fans turn around and say, but there are no aliens. We want aliens. And sometimes the worst people to listen to are the fans themselves. And he listened to the fans going, well, we want aliens. And he has been in numerous interviews turning around and saying, well, the fans wanted aliens, so I gave them lots of aliens. And that's what happened in Covenant. And it just was, okay, it doesn't flow very well. There's no great flow. You've clearly dropped the ball. You didn't stick to your guns. He should have stuck to his guns and gone down the path that he wanted to go. And that is where sometimes where we want characters to come back, but we don't deserve it. So we shouldn't really have them come back. And they're not warranted sometimes as well. There's no need to have the aliens bouncing around in Covenant. There's just no need. It's just too quick. It's too quick, and it kind of ruined the whole story for us. And will we get a conclusion to all of that? Will it link up to Alien? I don't know if they're going to actually have the balls to try and finish this off now.
Well, again, it's something that's demystified the Alien as well. I think it's better just to have this mysterious thing for another world, and now we've gone into all its origins and everything, and how Davies creates it, and it's just kind of demystifies it. I mean, something else set in the universe would be fine, but something, but I can't quite say I really wanted to find out the origins of it. Just more of it being a merciless killing machine. Yeah, it's more of it being this exciting otherworldly thing.
Yeah, I don't want to know the origins. That kind of ruins it, doesn't it? Name me a film where a prequel's turned around and made it a much better experience, a much better universe. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Not
prequel.
Yeah. Anything like that at all, where they've gone back and, hang on, no, the fans are wanting more of this, so let's explain it more. It never works.
Well, and I know you won't agree with this, but X-Men First Class.
X-Men First Class, wasn't that more of a reboot of the whole genre, though? So they had...
actually, I think you're right.
That wasn't going back on what they'd already written. It was more of a, okay, well, right.
I suppose it later joined up, didn't it? I guess it later joined up with the Patrick Stewart one, didn't it? I suppose, but it wasn't originally intended to be a reboot, wasn't it? Or intended just to be another set of films on its own. Yeah.
So what we're saying is, fanfic is good. It's good no matter what is written out there. Go out and write fanfic. Be creative. If it gets you reading, if it gets you writing, if it gets your imagination going, anything that does them three, is not a bad thing at all, really, is it?
No, and some people, I suppose, lack the capacity to think of their own kind of, find it really hard to think. Sit down, look at a blank sheet of paper, think, right, what world do I want to create? What characters do I want to create? They might be creative, but you might need a framework to put them in, because you can't. I mean, sometimes choice, is a powerful thing as well. Having too much choice, like I'm going to refer back to Doctor Who again, because it's a show that can go anywhere, anytime. That's enormous canvas for a writer, but at the same time must be very daunting to write about, because where do you start? Next stop everywhere. What do you create? I mean, yep, you've got the Doctor, you've got the companion, they've got the TARDIS, right, where are they going? Now what? So it's nice, I suppose it's nice for someone wants to have a framework to work in. I mean, I think I'd find it easier rather than sitting down trying to write an original story, rather than saying like, write something set in the universe of Judge Dredd, or write something set in the Star Wars universe. Like, oh, right, yes, I know that universe, I can write about that. And you don't have to write about, the forefront of that universe. You don't have to write something about the Empire and the Rebels, or this is something that happened when the Death Star blew up.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one thing. I mean, I suppose this is kind of fanfic in a way. Well, not written fanfic, but did you ever see the YouTube videos, Pink 5?
No, I haven't. No.
Quite good about this kind of this airheaded girl who was a rebel pilot during the original trilogy, which is quite funny. It's just years old now, I think it is. But yeah, I used to quite like that. I thought that was quite fun. But again, that's sort of taking a side character, putting them into events. I mean, you can still do something set in the Star Wars universe or any universe. You still do a side character, but as long as you kind of have that framework to work in, it's something good, something you can use to, further your own creativity. Create your own characters, then go on to create your own. Use that as a training ground to create your own characters, and you can then take it on. And if you feel so inclined, you might get too many ideas, thinking, wouldn't this be a great world? Mm-hmm. Wait a minute, you could just take, like we were talking about alternative universe, like, okay, well, you take this and you twist this, and okay, perhaps we could do that, and you have your own world, and that's anything that leads to further creativity. Has got to be good.
That's right. Yeah, if you're going to write a good story, use someone else's structure. And if your story is good enough to stand up on its own, then it will stand up on its own, and it can become its own thing as well. Look at the 50 Shades of Grey. That is from the Twilight, isn't it? Yep. That is from fanfic of Twilight, and it's been moved over. And I'm not saying it's great. I haven't read any of it. I haven't watched any of it. But someone saw something there, and they took it away and made it its own thing. And it's its own world now. And people
it's turning up that kind of made it kinkier, I think, with the kind of the BDSM element.
Yeah.
So I think I've not read or anything or seen anything easier, but it's, perhaps just using that central relationship, those dynamics, and transposing it over to your own work, your own specific universe.
Yeah. So all I would say, I encourage you to go out there and have fun, use your imagination, write down the stuff that you want to write, nick other people's bits, change into your own thing, give them credit where credit is due, but play around with these worlds, play around with all these different genres that we've mentioned as well, and just have fun. Yeah. If it gets you creating stuff, that is one of the best things that this world needs at the moment. So yeah, go create. That's what I would say. And
if anyone's interested in looking further into it or anything what we talk about, there's wonderful sites. I think it's fanfiction.net, in which you've got probably practically everywhere something for everybody, I expect. Because when I was first discovering the internet, you're discovering that people have written the story about this, or they've written something set in this universe, and you just want to explore it.
Cool. Excellent. Right. I think what we'll do, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Martin, for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a lovely chat.
Yes. Thank you to everyone who's joined us in the chat room. Apologies for the mucking around at the very beginning and in the middle and possibly at the end as well, which we don't know about. So, yeah, thank you to everyone who's joined us in there. We are now, podcast listeners, we are now back on Mixlr. We've moved back from the YouTube. We gave that a go, see what happened there. Didn't quite work out. The audio didn't quite work out as well as what we wanted to. It's just too much bandwidth. We live in the sticks around here, and so our internet isn't the greatest. So we're back on Mixlr now. So if you ever want to come along, pop along into the chat room, you can Skype in anytime in future episodes. Pop along to mixlr.com/RogueTwoMedia, and we'll try and get a lot more of these episodes out. Because, once we're doing them, I love them. Absolutely love it. Doing all this sort of stuff. It's just a case of getting off my lazy bottom and getting some of these done. So apologies for that, but here we are. Have you got anything that you'd like to plug or send any of these listeners in the direction of?
I haven't got anything myself to plug, but I'll just pimp out a few podcasts. There's yourself, Lee, Darren, and Jim on the Black Dog Podcast, which is still one of my favourites, still a very listenable podcast. There's the Irish Pubcast, which is always very good. It's Ian Wilson and Dave Probert at Twice as Bright, Half as Long, who examine old TV shows. Jim Moon's Hypnogoria just turned 400 episodes. Listened to that special the other day. It's very interesting. And of course, Jim's just completed his epic reading of Shadow over Innsmouth as well. And if there are any Bill fans out there that have suddenly remembered the show, there's actually a podcast called The Bill Podcast. A chap called Oliver goes around interviewing cast members about their time on the series, which is very interesting. I've started getting into that recently. Actually, another one I'll mention as well, the Crinoid Podcast, which is Doctor Who and Jim and Martin reviewing old serials of Doctor Who, just going through all the serials and just picking them apart and just generally reviewing it as well. Another one I've recently started listening to is the Verity Podcast, which is a female perspective on Doctor Who.
Cool. So there's plenty for people to get their teeth into and listen to. You guys are intelligent people. You're actually listening to a live podcast, or you've downloaded this. So, you're one of the special ones, guys. Come on. you know where you are. So go out, give these all a listen, give them rates and reviews on iTunes or whatever other podcast app that you use, and spread the love around a little bit. So I think we'll leave it there. You can catch me on RogueTwoMedia.com, which has the Grand Prix podcast and the new Flix Capacitor, which was mentioned earlier on. Yeah, just go down there, download all the episodes if you wish, and then, pop along to the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/Shonky Lab. And you can find all the details of the next episodes that we're going to be recording. So once again, I'll say thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you for having me, Elton.
And I will just leave it now and say, please leave quietly. This is a residential area.